We're speaking this morning to Azfar Firdaus. He is a model and a PhD student. And as you can see, he also has albinism.
Hello.
Good morning, Azfar. Thank you so much for joining us on the LITE Breakfast.
And thank you so much for having me.
Now, tell us about your life growing up. I mean, you were born with albinism. Do you know what is the cause of this skin condition?
Okay, so albinism. So basically, albinism is basically when both of your parents, they carry the genetic, I'd say the genes for albinism. So in order to have albinism, both of your parents need to be carriers. So what it does is it actually means that you're born without pigments in your hair, skin, and eyes. So you can see that I'm really pale, and it's that I have really blonde hair. But aside from that, not much actually. Growing up, it's been, I'd say, the average experience for me, luckily.
Okay. Oh.
We lost you. Azfar!
Okay.
We kind of lost you for a
Connection,
minute.
yeah.
Connection issue, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No worries,
It's
no
okay,
worries.
it's
Yeah.
okay.
Are you running on Wi-Fi or
It's not.
are you running on
It's
your...
supposed to be on Wi-Fi, but I think TM Unify has been. It's supposed to be TM.
Right.
Is it good now?
It's good for a while and then in and out. Never mind. We'll try. We'll
We'll try. Sure. If it's not okay, then I'll switch to Cellcom mobile data.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Okay, cool.
So you said you had an average life growing up, like an average child, but did you know that you were different? Did you realize that you were different from a young age?
Good question. The answer to that would be no, actually, because ever since I was a child, like everyone around me, my family and my friends, never treated me any differently. So for me, growing up, I never felt like ostracized by everyone or shunned by society because, everyone just treated me the same. But I can't say the same about other albino people out there, though. Like I've heard varying stories. So yeah, I only realized it when I was like 12.
Okay.
And what
Which is-
happened? Why 12?
It actually started at 9, but it's when I was 9, it was a really long story. That's when I sort of like looked back at everything, at who I am, and who I was. So I'll start at the that story first. So growing up, one thing that people don't know about albinism is that we actually have a disability. So when we don't have pigments in our eyes, it means that we have really limited vision. So as for me, I have an OKU card because I can't see far distances. So, but back then, not even the doctors knew about it. So growing up, I grew up in a very, I'd say, rural area school, if that makes sense. So there was this one doctor. She was traveling throughout the entire country, knocking on the doors of each school and asked like, "Hey, do you have a kid with this sort of description? Like this, like pale skin, blonde hair." And then luckily she stumbled into my school and she was like explaining to me like who I was, because back then we didn't even have internet, right? Yeah. So I guess that was the first life-changing experience for me.
Oh,
What?
so your parents didn't even tell you that you had albinism?
Yeah, well, my parents are very, I'd say, quite the supportive backbone to me. It's like whatever I want to do, they're like, okay, whatever, honey, we don't really care. We don't really treat you any differently. It's like, as long as you know what to do, then it's fine by us.
But as a
That sort
child,
of thing.
didn't you look at your parents and go, how come we look different?
Yeah. Now that I mention it, I think because children, they mostly don't really care and they mostly don't really look into all the superficial stuff. Or maybe I'm the one who's just like, I don't really care about all those things. So I never really bothered to ask them like, yeah, okay, sure. You're my parents, I guess. Let's just roll with it.
Yeah. So when that doctor told you that you had albinism and explained to you what is technically, I guess, wrong genetically in your body, then only you realize that you were different.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I remember I said what I said about albinos not being able to see.
Yeah.
So back when I was in school, when I was in standard one, primary one, primary two, I was in the very back of the class in terms of my performance, my grades. And it was because I couldn't see what the teachers wrote. And also I couldn't read. I only learned how to read when I was like 8 years old, which was pretty slow, right? So when that doctor came, she not only explained to me what my condition was, she also gave me this sort of vision aid for me to see. And ever since then, it sort of revolutionized my way of looking at the world, because she gave me this one mini telescope that I started using to read and stuff. So I was like, this is how regular people see.
Right.
Right. So for us kids, we don't actually know what's wrong until someone else points it out to us. So for me, I guess I was lucky enough to be able to remain sort of ignorant towards everything, towards the differences that I had because of my surroundings. Yeah.
But I mean, kids in school, I'm sure you stand out, right, in school.
Yeah.
Do they
I
not,
do.
I don't know, make fun of you in some way or pick on you?
They actually do, but I guess I've always been the sort of person who never really cared about people picking on me. Yeah, kids are kids, you know how kids are. Like, they would stare at you, I remember like walking everywhere in school and everyone would just stop in their tracks and like just not respond, They're like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? That sort of thing. But for me, I took the initiative to actually approach them first, like, hey, start speaking Malay and things like that. So they're like, oh, okay, it's a friend. So yeah.
Oh, so they thought you were Caucasian.
Yeah, pretty much. So I remember this one time, I believe it was a LITE, I forgot, it was a bike tournament or something. It was a LITE de France.
Yep.
Yeah, back then. And all the Westerners, they actually went past by my school, and this one cyclist, he actually stopped and like, oh, what are you doing here? I was like, where else am I supposed to go? So that was pretty fun.
Okay.
Oh, so basically all the other kids in school were like, budak Melayu putih tu lah.
Yeah, pretty much. They never really cared. So I was like, okay, now that I think about it, I have really good friends.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, but what were some of the challenges though for you for having such a visual skin condition all throughout from head to toe?
Yeah, most of the challenges that I have, it's mainly due to, I'd say, human interaction. Like whenever people come at me, they'd be like, even strangers, they'd be like, oh, are you okay? Is this a disease? Something? So the reaction will be very, I'd say, mixed. There are people who will be like, oh, you have really nice skin. And there'll be people who are like, oh, is this a disease? Should I not get close? Or is it contagious and things like that? So I guess the challenge for me will be to actually respond to each and every single one of them in a level-headed manner, in a way that for me not to overreact to all these things. So I like it when people actually come up to me and ask, like, what's your condition and things like that. But nowadays we have the internet, so I guess people are more aware of what albinism is. So it's not really an issue.
Do you wish that you had a shirt?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I have
Ask me more.
albinism. Ask me more.
Albinism help counter, feedback needed. So yeah.
Okay.
But actually, speaking of challenges, though, and excuse me because I'm not too sure about this, but does it affect you when you go out in the sun, and how does it work for you?
Do you get sunburned easily because you have no pigments in your skin?
Yeah. So basically, another thing that us albinos actually have is, I'd say, allergies to the sun. So we can be exposed to sunlight for more than a few minutes without developing severe burns. And it comes to a point where for albinos, it's very easy for them to develop skin cancer. It's like a 50% chance of getting skin cancer. So we have to look out for that one as well. So I guess you could say that technically we're legitimate vampires. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So do you like only go out at night, or do you put on a lot of sunblock in the daytime when you need to go out?
I usually wear appropriate clothes, like really long sleeves, and I wear sunblock, and I bring an umbrella with me wherever I go. So it's manageable. Yeah.
Okay. But like at what age? You said earlier there was a point at 9 years old when you figured out that was when the doctor came to speak
Uh-huh.
to you. How about
Yeah.
at 12? What happened at
Oh.
12 years old?
Oh, it was just me looking in the mirror, like, oh wait, I'm different. Sorry, anticlimactic, but that's pretty
Oh,
much it.
What was it though? I mean,
Yeah,
like, why
what
suddenly?
happened internally or externally that made you see yourself differently all of a sudden?
I guess I don't know. It was just sort of me trying to figure out what was wrong, because I was like, oh, I have it really hard actually compared to all the other students, because I couldn't see in class and I couldn't play out in the sun as much as my friends. So I was getting a bit frustrated. And 12 is the adolescent age where you start to, what do you call it? Start to make discoveries about yourself. And for me, my discovery was that I actually have albinism. I was like, huh. So this is why I struggle a lot. It's because of my condition. It's because of my genes, you know?
Mm.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry, it's a bit anticlimactic,
It's
but
not. I'm just wondering.
is how it
yeah.
But was it at that age that you've accepted it, that you have this condition and you have to live life this way? Was it at 12?
I very later age, after the whole teen angst phase, you know how it is.
Okay.
But yeah, I pretty much accepted it earlier on. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so but during the teen angst phase, how did you cope with being different?
Oh, good question. So how I coped was that I didn't just want to make a self-discovery by discovering myself. I tried to reach out to other albino people out there in Malaysia. So what me and my family did was that we would actually go ask around town or go everywhere and ask people like, hey, have you seen this sort of person? And we would actually visit them and get to know them better, and in some ways try to help them, because back then we don't even have internet, you know, so all this information weren't readily available for a lot of people. So for us, being able to, for me especially, being able to know who I was at a pretty young age, it made me want to like share it to the world, and not just to regular people, but mostly to albinos as well. It's like, hey, so I have made a lot of albino friends actually. Like exploring Malaysia, I found two in Pahang, a few in KL, in Sarawak. So yeah.
Are there a lot of albino people here in Malaysia that you know of?
So the statistically speaking, the ratio is supposed to be around 20 to 40,000 births. So there's an estimate of around 1,000 albinos in Malaysia, but so far the only registered ones. Oh, we have a society, by the way, like an organization. So far the registered one is around 100 plus. Yeah.
Okay. But at that point, you were like, you wanted to have your own support group. So you reached out to all these different
Yes.
people on your own.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So it was like we didn't even have an NGO, so we didn't have anyone to sort of like do all this activism work. So my friend actually set up an organization to help people with albinism in Malaysia. So yeah, that was nice.
In what way?
So we have our own support group. It's called the KLSAA, Kuala Lumpur and Selangor. We're planning on changing that to the Malaysian Albino Association. So what we do is we do a lot of these gatherings and organize different activities that a lot of these people with albinism could participate in, especially for parents who have albino children, since they don't know what to do. So what we do is we actually help link them up to different doctors and experts in the field for them to get the aid that they need.
All right. But besides the visual troubles and also the skin issues that if you go under the sun you get burned, any other health medical complications that people with albino suffer?
Aside from that, I'd say no. We pretty much have pretty average bodies. We live pretty like regular human beings.
Okay.
It's just the external, yeah.
But what were some of the common misconceptions of people with albinism that you've heard?
There's a lot of them. Okay, let me try to list them out. So, people with people with albinism have violet eyes, which I guess in a way
Violet
it's not
eyes.
Yeah.
Let us
It's
see
like-
what color your
Get
eyes.
closer to the camera.
It's actually gray, but you can't see it because of the light.
The light.
So yeah.
It's like grayish blue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. So, what else? People with albinism, they don't live that long, which is also a misconception. That was something that someone said to me, so I had to correct them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think what else?
Do you have to eat specific foods or something? Like, I don't know.
No, not really. You can eat pretty much anything. It's like pantang jumpa sort of thing, you know.
So it's like medically, health-wise, mentally, everything, it's pretty much the same as an average person. It's
Yeah,
just that
yeah,
you lack the
yeah.
pigment.
Yeah,
your
pretty
skin.
much. Pretty
Oh.
much, that's about it. Yeah. So we're just like regular people. I don't know what's all the big fuss about, you know. Because I mean, like growing up, for me, it's pretty average. But whenever I go to all these different people, albino people, and ask them to share their experiences, it's pretty polarizing. Like there's these two siblings. When they go to school, the students would actually throw stones at them.
Sorry, so
Can you
what?
repeat that?
Happening in Malaysia.
Can you repeat that again?
When these two albino siblings, when they went to school, the students would actually throw stones at them.
This is here in Malaysia. No, not
In Malaysia, yeah. So I was like, so it's pretty different, you know? And it's actually a pretty common thing for albinos to actually get bullied. So, yeah.
So do you think of yourself as lucky that you didn't have to go through all that?
Mostly it's because I've always been a fighter. So whenever people would like try to pick on me, I would, pick on them back, if that makes sense. Like, it was a self-defense mechanism, you know how it is. Yeah. So, yeah, for me, it's been, you don't try not to mess with me and I won't mess you up, sort of thing.
Okay. Don't
Pretty
mess with
gangster,
Azfar. He will
Pretty
mess
gangster.
with you.
Yeah. I don't just say no. I say albino.
oh my God. I like that. I'm gonna use the next time.
Okay, let's get to this interesting bit. You were still a child when you actually got into modeling. So how did it happen?
Okay, so I think it's at some point, 14, 15, something, I guess a few photographers actually approached me. So I did a bit of freelance modeling for all these freelance photographers. So it was a nice experience, but then I stopped halfway through and only started back around my 20s because I sort of, I wouldn't say I lost the confidence, but I was sort of in the process of trying to find myself. And I wasn't sure that if modeling was the thing that I wanted to do because I already stand out and I didn't want to stand out even more.
But how did the photographers find you to do this in the first place? Modeling.
Yeah, that's the thing. I honestly have no idea because I guess word just travels fast, back then. So, and besides being an albino, it helps, I guess. It's like, who else is there, in the whole district? It's like, you're the only person that they know. Like,
Okay.
Of course, people are going to talk about you.
But
So,
today you're still making a difference by standing out, especially on the catwalk, where people are now hiring more diverse kind of models, models who look different. How does this make you feel?
Oh, good question. I am actually really happy with the development of everything. It's like people are being more inclusive of, this diverse group of people. So it's not about trying to fit into a certain, I'd say, category. Nowadays, it's like, hey, if you have the confidence for it and you know what to do, then definitely go for it. It's never about your physical appearances anymore. So it's nice. It's a really nice and positive development.
But before you actually accepted the job to walk down the catwalk, right? Were you at least a little bit concerned, or worried about what people might say?
I guess in living in this society, for me, you just have to like roll with it, you know. So at the end of the day, it's never about this. It's never about different people. Or you know what people think of you. It's just you trying to have fun and doing the things that you like. So yeah.
But how can we encourage everyone to sort of accept a more diverse standard of beauty standard?
Good question. I guess I'd say it's really hard because people have different preferences. So what you can do is try to make those preferences accessible. And by this, I mean that it's not just things that they see on the internet, or it's not just, you know, things that they know is just sort of a personification of, you know, humans. So what I mean by this is try to make it more accessible by interacting with all these different people and also exposing to them. I think Twitter and Instagram is a good platform for you to interact and show them that we're pretty much just as human as they are. You know, there's no differences in us, in the way that we do, in the way that we interact. So yeah, accessibility.
So
That's pretty much it.
So the more they see you on in print, on screen, and also if they talk to you a lot more, I mean, people with different standards of beauty, right? That means they're just getting more comfortable with you, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So they'll be like, oh, he's just like any of us, you know. But the only difference is he's doing the things that he likes. So I guess I should start doing things that I like too. Those sort of things, you know.
Now let's talk about your love life, dating.
Oh God.
You're a single guy. Do you find it hard to, you know, approach women
Good question.
because of your skin condition, or just you are just a shy guy?
I guess my friends say that I'm really picky with who I date, but yeah, I guess some parts of it is because of my insecurities. So for me, it's like I can't drive far distances, and yeah, I can't really see well. So most of the interactions is gonna be really awkward. It's like whenever we sit, I'd have to look at your face like this close. So for for people who don't really know or who don't really understand, they'd be like, "Oh, you're way too close," or "Oh, is he okay?" That sort of thing. So dating has been quite the experience, really.
Experience as in a challenge, or experience it's been interesting.
Pretty interesting, I'd say, yeah. But I guess, people don't really mind as long as you're a nice guy. Then they don't really care.
Are you picky about dating someone who is also an albino, though?
I personally wouldn't prefer dating another albino, mostly because again, it's a recessive gene, which means that if both of us are albinos, then our children are most probably going to be albinos as well.
Right. Is that
So
a
I don't really
guarantee,
want to.
though?
It's like 20% chance, even if you are an albino marrying an albino.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
you had such a great experience growing up. I mean, you didn't go through any hardships. So what makes you think that you might not be a good parent to be able to parent an albino child?
Oh, yeah. So I don't think it's as a parent, it's one thing to try to educate your children, but it's another to get everything in control, especially in the environment wise. You know, the family might be okay, but what about the friends or the environment? So I don't want to have to put my child into the same sort of experiences that I had to go through growing up. So because people react differently to all this different negativity. For me, I tried my best to turn them into positivity instead, but I don't know how my child is going to turn out
That's
personality wise, right? So yeah.
That's true. Now, Azfar, if there was a cure, right?
Mhm.
But that would mean that you would become a different person. Would
Yeah.
you take it?
This is a very tricky question, but probably not actually. So I've been involved with all this different activism work and trying to help raise awareness for people with albinism. So I wouldn't want to forsake this chance of, not for myself, but for all the future albino children out there. So yeah, I don't really want them to sort of like lose a sort of, I wouldn't say an icon, but as a person that they could look up to and be like, oh, if this guy could do it, then so can I, you know?
But it's a
Yeah.
cure, though. I mean, like, for a lot of albinos out there, they might think, wow, why was I born this way? But then I finally have a cure. Wouldn't you want to just kind of grab that to some degree?
Nah, I'm way past that, you know? It's like, there was this one period where I was like, hey, doctors, can you cure me? Is there surgery, corrective surgery for my eyes, for my skin, and things like that? But nowadays, I'm just like pretty chill. I've embraced it entirely. So, yeah.
Okay. But what has to happen internally for you to be able to embrace this skin condition?
For me, it's been a pretty, I'd say, tiring journey, especially during my teenage years, like losing yourself, finding yourself, losing yourself again, things like that. So coming to terms with the condition that I had basically meant that I had to sort of sit down and reflect back on the decision that I make in life. It's like, hey, you could either constantly dwell on this negativity, on this thing that you can't change, every single day waking up hating yourself by, you know, your physique, or you could go here and try to embrace it, and instead of trying to wallow on it, you could fully try to adapt to all the differences that you have and make people aware, make people realize that you're pretty much capable of doing all these different things that other people do as well. So I chose the other way. So yeah.
That's great. That's great. Now, the old saying, beauty is skin deep. So what does this statement mean to you?
Beauty is skin deep. Yeah, beauty is skin deep, you know. It's like, it doesn't really matter in what way, in what shape or form that you come in, as long as you're a good person overall, like the energy that you project into the universe, it is a sort of energy that you're gonna get back, you know. So I guess in a way, if you look at someone, you don't really memorize them just by their faces or by their physique. You memorize them by how they treat you, how they are as a person, personality-wise. And it's things like that that actually leaves an impression on other people. So, yeah.
Okay. But you are now a PhD student, and you're also modeling, and you're also doing all this activism work. How do you juggle?
Well, I sleep 3 to 5 hours a day, if that answers your question. Yeah, pretty bad habit, so I wouldn't recommend doing it. But I guess for me, it's like I've always been the sort of person who doesn't like to idle about. So I like to jump on new things and do different activities whenever I had a chance. I'm just not a laid back kind of guy. And also, I'm a pretty good multitasker. Pretty good multitasker. So I hope that answers your question.
All right. Now, Azfar, what's your advice to people who may be insecure about the way they look, even though they do not have a skin condition?
So my advice to all the people out there, especially to those who are insecure, is that whatever it is, just try to be in a spot where you're comfortable in, you know. It doesn't have to, you don't really have to worry about your skin condition. You don't really have to worry about your appearances too much, because at the end of the day, you only have one life, and it's how you live that life that really matters. So try not to dwell on things that you can't change too much, and try to embrace the differences, and, you know, just have fun. Just go out there and show the world that, hey, I may not be pretty, or I may have albinism, but at least I'm having fun, and that's all that matters. So
I'm living my life to the fullest, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Azfar, for speaking to us. All the best in your PhD studies. And
Thank you.
We hope to see more of you in future. On
Hopefully.
Billboard,
Thank you so much.
maybe.
Yeah.